Garnett, Beverly, awesome. Thank you. We're so blessed to be here. We have a full house today. This is cool. And I want you to know that Monday morning something special is happening that we've waited for 11 years. What is that?
Yes!
We start our construction! So this is your 4 acres. That's your building we're putting up. So take ownership of it. And you can go out there and take pictures of it. I'll get our friend over there at the newspaper to take pictures this next week, so maybe they'll splash something in the local newspaper. Would you like to see that?
Yeah.
That building is 3,000 square feet, so you can take what we have right here in this little room and multiply it by 3.
I have pictures on my iPad of the materials being delivered, so if anybody wants to see pictures of materials being delivered, I got them!
Great.
Anyway, today we're going to involve ourselves in the empowering theme for July, which is, what is it? Divine order. Divine order and wholeness. So I got to thinking, I wonder if anyone knows where that word divine order came from. And you're going to say, well, it came from Sandy and Linda and Maggie. Yeah, right. You know where it came from? Plato. 300 BC. Wow. And he said some things that kind of lead us the way today. It's kind of opens the door for Angelo. He said, I see a more extraordinary being within myself that I am presenting now. Am I a plaything in the hands of God? A toy in which he wants to enjoy himself with? Nothing. Now this is it. This is the key. Nothing can be more wonderful than to play a highest part, divine order, playing our highest part. What does all that mean? This month we're going to see that we're all extraordinary beings. We can continue to see that. We do it every time we give a talk here on the platform. And we're also going to renew our awareness that this idea of the universe tugging at our hearts, encouraging us to step beyond the norm, encouraging us to transcend this small part of who we think we are, separated from all that there is. To transcend that and to move into a greater idea of who we are, to actually follow our divine order, to become that unlimited potential that we are. Our forefathers 238 years ago, and I need to mention them because today is the end of July 4th, which is yesterday. 238 years ago, our forefathers set the tone. They actually created the framework that allows us to become the most that we could possibly be. It allows us to express that divine nature that we are. When they embedded in the fabric of our history, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, this is the opening that we have from the very beginning to express everything that we are. And so there's something within us, as a divine plan, that challenges, that pushes us into a bigger under awareness. Today we're going to look at something very special. Everything that happens to us enhances us in some way, everything. So today we're going to look at and focus on the idea that for us to be aware of that, to change our consciousness so that we can actually embody that which we are, an eternal, unlimited spiritual being experiencing a life form here on earth. And so spiritual teachers tell us that, there's something about us, there's something in nature that's a kind of a divine longing, a spiritual longing, a spiritual impulse for us to move into a higher state of consciousness, an impulse to have us discover and to unfold that which we are. And they do it through the experiences that we have. Everything we have, everything has something good for us. We tend to just live a life from the mind, a life of perception that we're part of something, but we're under the control of something. That everything that we deal with in the form of life actually controls us and controls what we do. The thing I like about that is that we move when we start realizing that we are the spiritual being and we're here to experience something that's very, very wonderful for us, and that everything that happens to us will move us into a higher level of consciousness. Then we accept life in a different way. We move from illusion, we move to truth itself. The thing that I like, one thing that I love about it is the insurance industry. The insurance industry shows us this, and it exemplifies this idea of illusion. Years ago, I was leaving the school district. I was the superintendent of the high school district, and moving out of the parking lot. And there's a big sign that says,
Angie,
Turn your mic.
your mic's not on.
You need to turn your mic.
"Oh, you can't hear me."
No.
Wait, I get to the big mic.
That's a good thing, isn't it? Where is it?
That's your phone.
Hello.
Huh.
There you go.
Oh my gosh! I don't have to
You gotta start over.
Did you say something?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully the guys back there.
Okay, let's continue. What I love about the insurance industry, it shows that we live a life of illusion. And when we're living that life of illusion, we go from the mind, and we're traveling from the mind to the heart, to moving out of the illusion. It's kind of interesting. Bob one day said that we are lied to by our five senses. This idea of the illusion is that we are under some kind of a mystical control of what's happening to us, and that it's directed and guided by what we call our five senses. And Bob one day just eloquently said, you know, our five senses lie to us. Because when I look out in the audience, instead of seeing the light that we are, the love energy we are, we see separation. That our five senses, we see individuals, we see different colors, different shapes, and different forms, but we don't see what we really, what the truth of our reality is, which is a life form of God itself, that we are a photon. Bob mostly said we are a photon, that we are this life source. But when I'm looking out in the audience, what do I see? I see separation. This is the illusion that we have. And the insurance industry says when you get into a car wreck, you have to fill out a form saying, what is the percentage of liability that you have, what caused the accident, and what is your percentage liability? What I love about that is that, well, it happened to me. I'm leaving the school district as a superintendent, going through the parking lot there, and then going to the main drag. There's a big sign that says, do not park against the curb, because people can't see you. And so I'm inched out, and there are all vans and all kinds blocking my way. So I'm inching out into the street, and I hit a car. I didn't hit just any car. I hit the car that belonged to the daughter of our evangelical minister, Bob Johnson. And so when we say everything that happens to us benefits us in some way, how does that benefit Angelo? Well, I'm going to show you how it benefited this young lady. I was so upset. I was so upset because I said this, I said, Bob, I ran into Bob, he's a friend of mine. I said, Reverend Bob, I'm so sorry that I ruined your daughter's car. And the cops came and I had to do the forms and all. And he said, why? I'm here to thank you. My daughter has hated that car for 7 years. She couldn't afford to get a brand new one. And here you are, you provided her a brand new car. So this idea of the insurance industry just points the way to us and say, hey, we do live kind of in an illusionary world. However, everything that happens to us benefits us in some way. Some of the stories that came through on the insurance industry is just kind of interesting things. It's kind of a tidbit that will lighten things up. Coming home, I drove into the wrong house and hit a tree that I don't own.
Oh.
These are actual statements that the insurance industry has to deal with. The guy was all over the road. I had to swerve a number of times before I hit him. I have been driving for 40 years until I fell asleep at the wheel. Shall I continue? My wife always says, don't ask. To avoid hitting the bumper of the car in front of me, I hit the pedestrian. Oh. The telephone pole was coming my way. It was approaching. I was attempting to swerve out of its way, and it hit my front bumper. The pedestrian had no idea which way to run. So I ran over and this, I could go on, but the last one I kind of like. I pulled away from the side of the road, glanced at my mother-in-law, and headed over the embankment. We live this life of, everything that happens to us, we go into this victimhood, and we may laugh at those things and think it's silly, but we deal with a lot of folks who are hurting. And the bottom line is, here's the bottom line. Well, that's one. We'll count them today. It's no sillier than those statements I just made to have us think that a diagnosis can touch us in any way. Do you agree?
I agree.
It's no sillier to think that some negative event that can touch my soul or hurt me in any way. We live this life of illusion. However, what we need to do, and I think we must do, is come to the realization that everything happens to us is good for us. And I know it's hard to accept that. If our little puppy gets run out, and I don't mean Gigi, gets run over by a car, how is that going to affect me in any way? The thing is this, that we, and after 40 years, by the way, July 1, I mentioned to Sandy, July 1 I celebrate my 44th year in New Thought. 44 years. And if I've learned anything, if I've only learned one thing, it's that the statement that we always say, it's all good and it's all God, is not a fairy tale. If we can put that in our minds and know, it's all good and it's all God. Let's say it. It's all good and it's all God. That's pretty hard to take, and I've lost some close friends. But have I lost them? We say he lost his life. That's nonsense. You can't lose a life. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life is God in action right here and right now. That's what life's all about. There's no way that we can lose our life. So when we lose the physical awareness of someone, that's a different story. There's a research project that shows how important it is for each one of us to have the opportunity to experience what we don't necessarily like, that will bring us closer to our divine. And it's a guy named Dr. Wallace. He was doing some research on the evolution of people and the evolution of the country itself. And he was a good friend of Charles Darwin. And what he was doing, he was observing in this laboratory the emperor butterfly. And it was trying to release itself from its cocoon. And he thought, this is a life or death struggle for this. This butterfly is having a tough time. I wonder what would happen if I assisted him in some way. So he takes a knife and he cuts a slit along the lines of the cocoon itself. And the butterfly, what happened to the butterfly? It spreads its beautiful wings and it's born, and then it dies. What did he do for that butterfly? He denied it the opportunity of the pain and suffering that it took for it to survive in the planet itself, to survive. Every one of us needs those experiences for our own good, for our own spiritual growth. And so, doing that, he realizes this, that it's a natural phenomenon for us to go through what we go through. There's a wonderful book, I don't know if any of you have ever read, the evolutionary, it's called Evolutionary Environment, written by Andrew Cohn. What he says was that there's a natural process in the universe itself to where we are confronted with all kinds of challenges that will literally drive us into a higher level of consciousness, that will literally provide us the opportunity to step above the current consciousness that we have, to where we can be that unlimited potential that we are. And he shows several examples, but the main thing is that was the shocker for me. He said that same impulse that presides over Angelo's ideas or Angelo's experiences, that same impulse that will confront Angelo with some earth-shaking idea that makes me move out of my